Good morning. My name is Jessica Dumas. Thank you for joining me on Insights Inc., this project that I thought I was going to get into just to interview people, share stories. I've been really motivated to do that because of this, not just this time of reconciliation, but that has a lot to do with it. It has a lot to do with really hearing people's stories and connecting people. And I love that. I love listening to people's stories and then having the opportunity to ask some questions. So that's what we're doing today. So I'm not going to wait very long before I invite in Miss Katie Johnson. How are you, Katie?
Good, Jessica. So great to see you.
Yeah, great to see you too. So we're just going to jump right in. But what I did want to say in my introduction is, so Katie and I met, and I couldn't remember if it was 2 or 3 years ago, at the Banff Center. So what I was doing there was I got invited by my friend Daryl Brown, who's the owner of Keesick Inc. I don't know if you're familiar. I don't know if you know Daryl. Do you know Daryl?
No, I don't.
So there was a training coming up, and he nominated me for a sponsored position, and I was able to go and spend 5 days in Banff. And on the 5th day, they invited in a bunch of people from, I think, all over the world. And
yeah, it was like a leadership conference at the Banff Center. So I didn't know what to expect either, and it was amazing to see.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah. So we were in breakout rooms, and Katie was in one of the rooms that I was in. And so we met, we said hello, we switched cards, and then I think like every 6 months or so we just kind of connected, and then because of technology, because of how we're talking now, and LinkedIn and Facebook and that sort of thing, we were able to stay connected and just kind of see each other from a distance. And I love being able to do that. I love being able to connect with other women who I see that are, just making things happen in their life and in their community. And that's what I saw Katie doing. So it's like, hey, let's chat and, just kind of stay in touch. Yeah. So from what I do know is you do event planning and consulting.
So yeah, well, I think we do it all, right? But yeah, no, it was great to connect with you too, Jessica. I love the work that you're doing in your community and the fact that you're connecting people from across Canada. So I'm really happy to join you today.
Thank you.
We just got off of a 3-day celebration / AGA for the Council of Yukon First Nations. So I'm a little exhausted today, but really glad to be a part of this morning. My name's Katie, and I'm a member of the Yukon First Nations and a wolf clan. I'm born and raised here in the Yukon, and yeah, so I come from really humble beginnings. From our community is maybe 60 to about 100 people, at its best, in a small community called Burwash Landing. I sort of was raised sort of in the Kewanee area throughout high school. And yeah, it's great to be home. Because out of all the, there's so many great opportunities across Canada, but the fact that I can be home and go home, I have an office that's based out of Whitehorse. And so I do all my business in Whitehorse. And then on weekends or certain celebrations, I get to go home and see the community and see my family. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I have a company called Bella Elite. I actually named it after my daughter. Her name's Isabella. And I started this work probably about 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I've been self-employed and working for myself in various sectors and areas, but primarily in event production in the last, like I said, 12 years. And it's such a passion of mine. And I love, it doesn't really feel like work. I love what I do in terms of creating various platforms for Yukon First Nations in the art and cultural sectors, cultural revitalization, tourism, And most recently, I've been working in areas of youth leadership development and sort of health and wellness in the communities. And I just recently was the director of national events for Reconciliation Canada, based out of Vancouver. So yeah, it's been really great. I'm based out of here in Whitehorse, and super busy this summer with all sorts of different like cultural events and all sorts of different things that will keep me busy till the end of the summer.
Mm-hmm. Exciting.
Yeah.
But good for you. So as you were growing up, like how did you decide, or what made you decide to be an entrepreneur and start your own business? Is that something you saw in your family, or?
Well, it's interesting because I honestly feel that the work that I do, it sort of chose me, and it sounds, but I always had the vision of promoting because I have an education in tourism. Mm-hmm. So I went down to Vancouver and I took sort of more tourism, product development. And I thought, well, there's that linkage between how do we showcase or profile Aboriginal cultures, sort of maybe in the tourism vehicle. And so I kind of went down that path, and the opportunity came back. I think in 2007, Canada Winter Games was hosted here in Whitehorse. And I came back and I was like, wow, there's this huge sporting event happening here in our territory. And there was not a lot of First Nation participation, either on the cultural level and I was like, we have to change this, because, here's this national event coming into our area and we need to showcase the best of the best. So I created it was called the Gathering of Northern Nations. And so we have 14 different First Nations here in the Yukon. And there's also Northern BC First Nations, and 11 of them are self-governing. So we're really unique up here in a sense that each community they govern themselves. And I think, there's been a primary focus probably in the last 25 years of just the land claim settlement. So a lot of our elders have been really focused, including my dad. My dad was actually a chief for 10 plus years in our community, and as well as many other leaders in the community. So once the agreements were signed, it was like, what's next for the communities? And there was a space for cultural revitalization, and there was a space of how do we get our communities back to the culture and showing, singing, and providing platforms. Mm-hmm. And so, so I created this cultural expo during the Canada Winter Games, and I really didn't know how many people were going to participate, but it was amazing. We had 10 or more visual artists, performing artists, elders, businesses from each community. And it filled this massive tent just outside of one of the venues. And it was 4 days of cultural sharing. And it really sort of planted the seeds of the work ahead that I've been involved in. So I always tell that story because it's I remember I was I know our culture's rich, and I know that we share our songs, and I just wanted to bring that out in the lights. And so, and it was just rippled effect from there. And so after that event, we created the showcase for the 2010 Winter Olympics. Mm-hmm. And that was incredible. We brought 70 performing artists, visual artists, and elders to Vancouver to showcase the world, the various venues that they had in Vancouver. And then it created the opportunity to develop a Yukon First Nation Arts Cultural Festival. And so I helped shape that with another lady named Charlene Alexander, as well as a board of directors, which created the ADÄKA Cultural Festival, which has been going now for probably about 6 years. So it really was, it started from planting the seed to just creating platforms and opportunities for our artists to be on, you know, national and international stages, and just creating that energy of pride and love in the communities. And so, like I said, I really feel like it's a path that has been given to me. So I'm very aligned with my values, and I make sure that my intention and the work that I do is always in the interest of the artists, our people, our community, and our culture.
Very nice. It's so exciting that you're able to really start really be a part of that. Because I'm sure at times when you said, like, we need to do something about this, like, did you ever have any doubts that, like, who am I? Or like, what were some of the challenges in really doing what you wanted to do?
Well, it's interesting because I am from a small community, and I had the opportunity to be raised with our elders who have now passed on, and we're really, really grounded, right? So you're aligned, you know who you are and where you come from. And I think that's super important in the work that we do is, and what we take on, right? And every day I get to hug an elder. Every day I get to listen to incredible music from some of our most best performers here in the Yukon, to attending the numerous cultural activities that have been happening here in the Yukon. So probably in the last 10 years, to be a part of seeing that growth has been really incredible. I feel very lucky to just have a part in all of it, and excited to see where it's going to go for our next generation. My daughter's 6 years old, and I want her to experience that. I want her to go to cultural festivals. She's also a part of a dance group, the Dakakwan Juniors, and it's incredible to see, you know, to be a part of working with groups, and now my daughter's getting involved. So it's really like paving the way for the next generations so that they have the similar experiences that we had.
Nice. Oh, it sounds beautiful. It sounds like a lovely community, like definitely very cultural, connected. And I like to think about how my kid's life is different than mine, or like when I was a child, and different in the way that I try to break some cycles in my home, like with alcohol abuse and different things, and create, you know, a safer place for them with more opportunity. And another thing that they have more access to is access to learning their culture, right? Because when I was a child, my grandmother, you know, said, no, you'll never use your language, which is what she was told. And my boys have the opportunity to do that. But one thing that I've noticed with them is they don't really choose to, you know, and I feel kind of disappointed. I guess disappointed because I didn't have that choice, right? But also thankful that they do have the choice and that it's not taken away from them. So yeah. What are some ways that you would describe your childhood and how that's different than your daughter's childhood?
It's interesting because I think now, like, especially you have to make the effort to make that connection to the community. And so we just had our General Assembly out in the Duke Meadows, which is a gathering place just outside of Burwash. And I have great memories there, like trapping gophers with my grandma, to just being with my family, my community. Mm-hmm. And not, it's those traditional pursuits or being on the land that I think really shape us as well. And our traditional territory is actually a part of the Kluane National Park, which is a world-renowned park. Mount Logan's a part of that park. We have the biggest ice fields. Like, it's an incredible, like, when you go there, it's so super spiritual. Like, you feel super connected. And so I'm very fortunate to be from that community and to be, that's sort of my surroundings. And so I just make that effort to make sure that my daughter knows the community and she has a connection of, you know, sort of where she comes from. And what's great, what I love about our community is we really support one another. And so I don't know if you've heard of the Governor General's conference. So they just recently had theirs this year. There's 30,000 plus applicants. And 4 of our women from our First Nations, including my sister, were selected to be part of that program. So it gives you a sense of pride of, like, all of us came from that community and we support one another in their careers, and then we get to connect back and forth. So I think we're really lucky to be from there. But what's amazing here is we're all connected. Like, we know people from various communities, and the various events that I produce is always like, we include all nations. So there's never, like, you know, how do we create an event that invites everyone to the table? And so that's one of the goals when I do these projects is, like, how do we get people from Pelly, from Dawson, from Old Crow? Because we're all very similar, but we're all very different. And we do different things in our community in terms of our culture and how we even sing and dance. And so I really like that diversity up here. And so I really try to bring that to the forefront.
Very nice. Oh, that's lovely. I love hearing stories, especially about, you know, creating and strengthening culture and promoting culture and keeping that throughout your community. That's fantastic.
And I mean, this work in the last, you know, 10 plus years that I've been involved, like this, it's just a continuation of the work of our ancestors, you know, of the fact of how resilient we are in terms of, you know, sort of the darker passes of, you know, residential school to, and I really feel that our youth and our communities there's that shift here up here of, like, what can we do to change that for future generations? So I really get that sense up here that everyone plays their part in creating a new path for our future generations.
So it was exciting that you got to be a part of Reconciliation Canada. How did that connection start?
Well, it's interesting because I really feel that the work that I have been doing, it really is part of the equation of reconciliation, like revitalization, working with our communities in terms of who we are. So it's like really creating that space. But then there's a whole different space of, like, how to sort of all Canadians to show how great who we are and really tell our story. And I went to like multicultural festivals, because here in the Yukon we have a few festivals, but they're not like multicultural, right? And I mean, like, Italian days, Greek days, like just sort of the different communities. And so I'm like, you know what, I'm going to take Bella down to Vancouver. And so we rented a place down there, and it was a lot of fun because she really got to see all sorts of different cultures. And I love Vancouver. It's a great, beautiful city, and always wanting to make connections and network in the work that I do with my business. And a job posting came up to apply for this job. And so Reconciliation Canada is an Indigenous-led organization. They do workshops across Canada in terms of reconciliation and dialogue workshops. And they have an incredible team of people there, experienced and passionate about the work that they do. And I was like, wow, this organization is really aligned with what the work that I'm doing. And so I applied for the job, and when I first went in for the interview, I was like, I haven't done an interview in like 10 years, but I'm very passionate about this work. And so I had the opportunity to work with this team for about 10 months and just learned a lot about the various regions across Canada, you know, and really be connected and learn. It was really a learning experience for me. So I'll continuously be connected to the organization, and just to, you know, if they ever came up here to the Yukon, I would create the space for them to be up here. And I really feel like the opportunity for that dialogue is there now, and so they're really taking advantage of it. And so I hold them all up in high regard in the work that they're doing.
Nice. Yeah, it's definitely amazing work all across Canada for sure. So what is it like for young people and, you know, wanting to graduate high school? So what was your high school years like if you grew up in your community and wanting to go to high school, and what's that like?
What was that? Well, it's interesting because, so I'm from Burwash,
okay,
or Kluane, and there's no school there. So, well, there's a school that goes from kindergarten to grade 8. So, and my mom was a school teacher. And so she got a job in Haines Junction, which was, I think like it's an hour and a half from Burwash. And so I went from kindergarten to high school there. So it was a lot of back and forth. Like we drove, because my dad was chief. And so a lot of back and forth on weekends.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's like Haines Junction, and Kluane were very connected. It's sort of like the Southern Shoshone Nations. And so we're related to a lot of people. So it just felt like a much larger community, and inclusion. And so to this day, I'm really connected to the people of the Champagne-Ajac First Nations, and they just recently did their dance festival. They have a dance festival every 2 years. It's hosted at their ADÄKA Cultural Center, and it's incredible. They invite dance groups from the Yukon, Alaska, and they just like sing and dance for all day and like all night. It's an incredible celebration. So I think a really good upbringing. I'm still connected to the communities. I still go to, events and our cultural pursuits and potlatches, and I still am connected to the people of that area.
Nice. So I want to be conscious of the time because I know that you didn't have a lot of time. Well, I guess two, 3 more minutes. So what are you doing for this weekend? What's your next big plan that you have going on?
What's your next adventure? Well, literally, I hit the ground running when I got back from Vancouver. So I had the opportunity to be a part of the hosting a cultural night for the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women Inquiry. So I was really honored to be a part of honoring the families and the women, because they started their inquiry here in Whitehorse. So that was sort of the start of the work that I have been doing in the last little while. And then I produced National Aboriginal Day. And what's amazing here is it's the first stat holiday that's recognized and it was recognized in the legislation with our government. So it was really cool because everyone, you know, the government employees got the day off and some businesses. And so we did a community walk that started or kicked off National Aboriginal Day. And it was like, join us to celebrate National Aboriginal Day. I've never seen quite a few National Aboriginal Days here. Yeah. There was plus people, if not more, like, and it was not just First Nations. It was like a mix, multicultural. It was a proud moment of being a Yukoner. Like, it was incredible to see that many for that event. Mm-hmm. And then I went right into the AGA for the CYFN and incredible for all Yukon First Nations. And now I'm working on a 3-day cultural event, and I've been mentoring the team at Tasman Tlingit Council. So every 2 years they host, it's called Hakisti. It's a celebration of inland Tlingit culture, and it's with 2 other nations. And so it's an opportunity or an event or a platform for people to come and experience inland Tlingit culture as well as Yukon First Nations. So it's like multidisciplinary. There's like performing arts, visual arts, workshops, you name it. It's like feasts. Mm-hmm. The Atlan Taku people fly in like 2,000 pounds of fish into the event. And so they feast and celebrate and sing and dance. And so I'll be working on that probably in the next, well, it's at the end of the month. So no sleep for me until August.
Well, that's fantastic. So I just want to go back quickly. So the Yukon has made National Aboriginal Day a stat holiday. Is effective what year? Is it just this year?
No, they passed it in May. So every year it's a stat holiday here in the Yukon.
But 2017 was the first year of that?
Yeah. That's so this year. Yeah, so Yukon government really wanted to kick it off, and of course the Kwanlin Cultural Center hosts sort of the all-day programming. Mm-hmm. And then actually the ADÄKA Cultural Festival kicks off tomorrow. And so I'm going to be actually heading down there tomorrow to MC Canada Day. Mm-hmm. And check it out. It's check out their website. It's one of the most premier Aboriginal cultural festivals, I think, in Canada.
Yeah.
And before I want to tell you this story before we leave, because the work that we do is so important in terms of creating space for our community. But so ADÄKA in Southern Deshoney, like the name of that festival means like coming into the light. So my dad helped sort of shape that along with many other elders of the ADÄKA, the idea of the mountains and the sunrise coming, and it's like beautiful light, darkness, but light's coming in. Mm-hmm. And I really feel that right now, our young generations, our elders, our youth, our performers, it's like we're opening the box of light, of sharing our culture, of being proud of who they are and being proud of where they come from. And it's incredible to see how things have grown in the last 10 years. And for me, just to have a part in that and to see that, it makes me so proud to be, Yukon First Nation makes me proud to be First Nations. Like, I want that for my daughter. And so my mission in life is to just continue this really important work and create more opportunities and just really be active in the community and find the space for that to happen.
Beautiful. I love it too. I call it the Indigenous Renaissance. Probably about 2 years ago, that name, Indigenous Renaissance, and I actually had it on my Twitter header. And then earlier this year, I was asked to speak on Indigenous inclusion, and I thought, you know what? At first, I felt kind of like shy about using that phrase, but I thought, you know what? I'm going to call my talk this, and I've continued to do that. And I'm happy to see that that's happening all over the place, because it's time, right? It's such a good time. The Indigenous population across Canada is the fastest growing. We've been hearing that for years and years. And yeah. I mean, of course, here in Manitoba and, Winnipeg, what we're hearing is people are really curious about the calls to action, right? And that's really partnered with the population. It's like, okay, we're finally going to do something. And so, seeing those steps being taken, which is super exciting, and to me, it's a renaissance.
It is, and it's up to the community and the people when they're ready, right? Yes. I always believe in that. I feel sometimes things happen for a reason, and it happens organically, and it's respecting that and honoring that, because a lot of us are reclaiming our culture, our language. Mm-hmm. What does that look like? How do I fit in this picture? Yeah. But I really feel up here, it's supported. We support each community. We support artists. When I do an event here, because I do some conferences as well, and we pull together showcase or shows for people from all over. We host people from all over Canada and international audiences. And I mean, I love to bring outside acts, but I'm like, we have the talent here. Mm-hmm. And so I always hire the artists here and work with them creatively and be like, let's tell the story to a national audience our way. Yeah. But we elevate that by, hiring an artistic director, getting the best facility, getting the best lights and sounds. Like when I produce something, I make sure that it's world class, mm-hmm. so that the artists are seen in that light. And it's always been my mission to make sure that everything's beautiful, from regalia to their songs to their music. Like that needs to be enhanced so people see it, mm-hmm. and hear it and experience.
Way to go. Way to go. Mm-hmm. Good job. Keep up the great and excellent work. And I totally agree with that. And I've always said that we have so much talent here, right? I totally agree and support artists traveling and knowledge traveling. And that's very valuable and important. But at the same time, acknowledging the wisdom, the leadership, the talent that you have at home. So that's really awesome. Yep. So if anyone's going to the Yukon that wants to get involved in any type of culture or event, they should get in touch with you, because you're doing everything.
Well, I'm not doing everything, but I'm definitely involved, definitely on a community level, for sure. Yeah. And I just love my work. It's actually not even work. I love everything about it, and it's tiring, but it's worth it. And it's worth seeing the laughter, the love, the connection. Because, I always try to include like opportunity for artists to sell their work. Mm-hmm. So there's that whole economic development opportunity and selling. And I don't know, it's, I feel like it's just the start, which is really exciting for me. Because I'm like, wow, in 10 years, like, what is this going to look like? Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm really honored to be a part of this, and to feel that it's just the beginning is really exciting.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel that energy too. So thank you very much for sharing and being open with me and spending some time with me to just, have a little bit of insight into your life and what's going going on in the Yukon. That's
awesome. Thank you so much, Jessica. I think it's great. I love the work that you're doing too.
Thank you.
Connecting with people from all over Canada and sharing the story. And so thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's someone that you think of that you think that I should interview and share this with, and let me know. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I'll give you a list. There's some incredible people here.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. And I look forward to connecting with you again really soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica.
Okay, bye. That was beautiful. That was Katie Johnson. And I'm going to share her website because I realized I didn't ask her that. And usually I like to, I believe it's Bella Elite. It could be consulting. Let me get that before I go anywhere. But I will share the link to her website. I'm just on her LinkedIn right now. I'll share that in the, bellaelite.ca. So that's how you can find Katie. And thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed her story. I hope that if you have any connections that you want to make in the Yukon, that you'll connect with her, because she is obviously connected. Culture, events, artists, doing great and amazing things. So I'm off to go do some camping. I'm going to have a great weekend spending time with my family. And I hope that everyone takes time all the time to do that as well. So thank you very much and take care.